Hello, my name is Oscar Wong, and today I'll be presenting to you my infographic. So, to start out, I'll be talking about the visual potential of my infographic. My number potential is exploited through this bar graph right here in this section over here. And then next, my location potential is exploited through this map over here, which shows the population decline percentages from 2010 to 2040. And then my appearance potential is exploited through these little graphics over here, such as this baby or these stick people over here. And then I also have these canes over here. And then like these vectors in the background scenery is also an exploitation of the appearance display. And then my relationship potential is exploited through this section over here. It talks about how they're all connected since they're all policies that try to resolve Japanese population crisis. Next, I'll be talking about the encoding that I used in my infographic. So, examples in which encoding is utilized is in areas such as my location display over here. So, I used red, orange, and yellow to represent different ranges of percentages. And I also used the same color encoding in my bar graph. This time, the different colors represent different age groups over here. So I felt as though I used these because they were the most optimal way of conveying information to people, especially since I use bright, vibrant colors that are distinct from one another. But I could have possibly also used, for example, like graphics to show encoding. So for example, I could use like in this bar graph over here, I could have used like, I don't know, like people to represent the different age groups. So I could have said like one person is equivalent to 1 million people, for example. Next, I'll be talking about my color. So the colors that I used in this infographic is this, first of all, this background color. It's just this teal color. And then I use a light yellow color for the majority of the text. As you can see, like in my title and this text over here. And then for the banners, I use this dark navy color. And then I use the encoding colors of the bright red, orange, and yellow. And then finally, for example, in my background scenery, I use just a lighter teal color. I also use that lighter teal color in the background of the population policies relationship display. So how my color is used to highlight. In some cases, for example, I use a red color to highlight the important words in some of the sections. So in this section, I use every last cute Japanese baby will be gone by 2011 if trends continue. So I highlighted the gone word just to bring it out and I guess allow viewers to comprehend it easier. And I also use it in this section as well. So I highlighted, I guess, in my opinion, what the important words were. I also used color to encode. So I used it in things like here, as I said before, where I used the colors to show that different percentages in my maps and different age groups in this section. So my colors that I use are kind of this bright, vibrant colors. So they kind of set this happy and cheerful mood, which is a bit inconsistent with my overall topic of Japan's population crisis. So I guess I should have thought that through more. I could have used more solemn or more serious tones of color. And also, I did not, in this infographic, I did not deliberately use color to trigger any associations. Um, when I did my color analysis for my color model, which is the same colors I used in my actual infographic. So here's my color model right here. So the colors I used here, when I analyzed these colors, I did notice that there is, I guess, this split complementary color scheme going on. So that was quite comforting to know. So next I'll be talking about my text. So the two main text styles I use, or two main text font families I used in this infographic are Futura and Rockwell Standard. So how I use text to label, especially in my map section, where I labeled it using these dotted circles over here. So I guess those were more precision labels, but and then I did use text to annotate in this section, for example, where I said vectors from HTTP, this link over here. So I noticed in my, for example, in my text model, that they devoted a completely new section for annotations at the bottom left over here. And they also did it in my color model as well. In the bottom left over here, they have like this source over here. So I did not do that, unfortunately, but I felt as though it wouldn't, now that I'm thinking about it, it might not have fit within my entire layout. I might have had to, or it might, I guess, create incohesion within my infographic. So next I'll be talking about my visual hierarchy. So in my opinion, the visual hierarchy was the most difficult aspect to create and do well. This was because I had all these sections that varied in size, so they couldn't just be placed anywhere I would like them to be placed. So for my visual hierarchy, I first wanted to highlight the title, of course, so it would give the viewer just what this infographic was about and what my topic was about. So my title is the largest and boldest font in my whole infographic, and it has this kind of drop shadow as well. Next, I wanted the viewer to view this map over here. It gives more context to my topic. And then below that, I would give them, I wanted them to look over here. And then next, I wanted them to look at my relationship display over here. So next, I wanted them to look at my timeline, and then I want them to go up to this section, the top right corner over here, and look at this section, and then move along to the left, and then they'll finally end up over here. This would be the last section where it talks about how every last cute Japanese baby will be gone. As you notice, I did utilize my banners to subtly, I guess, guide the viewer. Also, in this timeline section, a couple of my critiques said that the timeline kind of led them off the infographics, so I decided to increase the size of my background scenery to, I guess, guide them up more. So this Empire State Building looking thing here guides the viewer, hopefully guides the viewer up to here, and then over here you see how the banner switch directions, so it helps guide the viewer to move to the left, where they'll finally end up over here. So I guess I wanted my visual hierarchy to, of course, tell a story. So they, as I said before, they first get the main topic or they get a good idea of what this infographic will be by reading the title, Japan's Population Crisis. And then next, when they view the map, they'll get more context, and then they'll get more context from reading this text below, and then they can accumulate more data as they go along through my infographic. And then finally, at the end, they'll finally read that sad projection statistic where it says that every last cute Japanese baby will be gone by 3011 if trends continue. So it kind of adds them on a sad note. So next I'll be talking about my context. So my central message for this infographic, of course, is that Japan has a population crisis. It is very real and prominent. So how I created that message using similar information is that I used things such as my map and my bar graph. So these are relevant, very relevant information that shows how, that gives real statistics of how Japan's population is going to be decreasing throughout the years. So examples, on the other hand, examples of how my message is created using different information is through sections such as my life expectancy blurb. So in this section, I give the viewer an interesting fact about a typical Japanese citizen's life expectancy. It's not directly related to the population decrease, but it does add to the central message because I did talk about how the elderly in a different section of my infographic is going to be cut in half, or excuse me, will be half of the population by 2060. And another example of how of an irrelevant section, or irrelevant section is in my infographic is a statistic of how 25% of Japanese men aged 16 to 24 are not interested in sex. So again, it's not entirely relevant to my main topic, but it gives people something to think about or some possible reasons as to why Japan's population is decreasing. So next, I'll be talking about unity and variety. So I think unity in my case is created through the text in color. In my infographic, I use colors that match well with one another, or I just use the colors in my color model, which I thought matched well with one another. And I think that does create a lot of unity. It gives consistency throughout the whole infographic. Touching on color, I did use it to create variety as well. Originally, I had a map that had step colors of this red color, not this red that I used in over here, but this just generic red color in Tableau, and that was the only instance in which that specific red was used in the entire infographic. So it stuck out a little, and it felt like it was just the black sheep of my entire infographic. So in order to resolve that, I used stepped colors of like my red, orange, and yellow that I use in my bar graph, and I incorporated it in my map. So that worked well. And also, I used the same red, yellow, and orange in different sections. So, for example, in my relationship display, originally these circles were not red; they were a blue. And then I use the red, orange, and yellow in my candles over here as well, and over here in this section where it talks about the Japanese men aged 16 to 24. So yeah, that's how I created unity and variety. So how is my unity and variety similar or different from my models? So just an FYI, I used a hybrid of both my text and my color model as my base model. So in my text model, they only use 2 tones of colors, My infographic, on the other hand, uses a palette that contains more than 2 colors. So this created a problem as it made my infographic might seem a little bit busy. So for example, the red I used in my map in this peninsula of Japan over here is also used in my Japanese policy circles over here. And it's also used as an important word signifier over here and over here and over here and over here. And it's also used in the flames and my candles over here. So my main point is that there is no consistency in the general shapes and colors that I used in my infographic. In my color model, however, it has a general consistency of color and shapes. So they use the same dark navy color for the banners, and they use, for the most part, the same color for the text. And there's just this cohesion between the color and the shapes that doesn't really show up in my infographic. So that was I guess that was a problem that I still face in my final infographic, actually, of using 2 different models and combining them into one to be my main model. So next I'll be talking about layout. So my elements are laid out in, as you can see, in a landscape portrait. They are grouped into sections which are separated by dashed lines, as you can see. So this is similar to my layout model, because in my text model over here, they did use the same dashed lines to, I guess, separate different sections from one another. Next, I'll be talking about alignment. So I used alignment primarily at the top and over here and the left of the infographic. As you can see, my infographic is aligned at the top where the dashed lines are cut off. And this is the same story on the left of my infographic, where the dashed lines are cut off. I decided not to align the bottom or the right side of my infographic because of my timeline. I thought it would have looked really awkward and weird if I had a gap below my timeline, and it might have, I don't know, made my background city look like it was floating in midair or something. And on the right side, I decided not to really have a strong alignment just because I thought it might have looked awkward and weird to have my timeline cut off and there'd just be this space in between. So I just wanted my timeline to be continuous, and I didn't really want to have any cutoffs on my timeline. So this is similar to my text model, as they seem to also have alignments along where the dashed lines are cut off. So you can see here how the elements are lined against like an invisible line where the dashed lines are cut off. I guess it's different from this model because they did it all on all 4 sides, whereas my infographic did not. It only did it on 2 of the 4 sides. So that concludes my presentation. I hope you received a better grasp of what my infographic is and how it was composed. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.